Thanks for having me on here. I'm so excited to be on here and present sort of a little bit. I'm going to talk a bit about me. I'm going to kind of take a little bit of a different perspective and give you some handy hints on, interviews, what you should know about interviews, some handy questions to ask. Give you some insight about what it's like working rurally, a bit about us as an organisation and our new graduate program as well. I also want to give you some practical tips on kind of achieving your work-life balance and expectations as a new grad, and also how to utilise the professional development that's offered to you by your new employer. So slightly different take perhaps from a couple of the other presenters. So a little bit about me. I am a physiotherapist, graduated in 2009 from obviously New Zealand originally. I moved over to Roma in Queensland back in my new graduate year to work for Vital Health, and I've been with them. I was in Roma for 8.5 years before I moved back to New Zealand to spend some time with my family and brought my kids back here. And my boss asked if I wanted to do some work from home back in 2018. That was very new. Now, not so new. I really loved throughout my physio career at Vital Health, when I was doing hands-on work, that I got a really broad caseload, that I could call myself a specialist in general physiotherapy. I could see kind of anyone who walked in the door and know that I had some really good tools up my sleeve to sort of treat anyone. I'm now doing HR management, recruitment management, and have input into different leadership pathways within our organisation. My passion is definitely supporting people's professional growth and their personal development. So we have, I've just developed an internal leadership program, which has been a really amazing, for our managers that are stepping up throughout our organisation. That's been really successful. As I said, I work from home. I have 2 children. I have a very mad keen fisherman husband, and this is my family. So jumping straight into an interview. So I thought I'd give you a couple of practical tips. Obviously, I do the interviews for our organisation, and I really like to give students some practical and handy sort of tips and hints before entering an interview. So it's really, really normal to feel nervous or anxious or worried. It is a big deal going into it, but just make sure you prepare. So you'll feel a lot better if you've got a couple of things up your sleeve when you're going into it. So recruiters really like to see what clinical experiences you've had. So think about your clinical experiences, both good and challenging, and how you've learned from it, your reflective practice that you did. It really shows us that you're keen to learn, that you can learn from things. So both of those are really important. If you've got a whole bunch written down, it will certainly help your interview. Go into the interview knowing why you want to work for that organisation. So I think it's been mentioned a couple of times throughout today about, making sure you align your goals, your career goals, your morals, your values with what the organisation's goals and mission statements are. So that certainly, again, has been echoed, but it's certainly, you spend a lot of time at work, so it's really important to do work that you enjoy doing. Some strategies. So if you are starting to get overwhelmed in an interview, it is really important to have some sort of, I call them restart strategies up your sleeve. So make sure you know internally you need to take a deep breath, or you start to feel like you're getting kind of hot or flustered. Take the time to have that. perhaps you need to actually just refocus for a minute. So a really kind of easy, subtle technique is to just look away from the interviewer for a couple of seconds and just kind of regather your thoughts. Another tip that I like to give people is also when you're in an interview situation, perhaps just even practice or try and think about the fact that you might be talking to a family member or a close friend and through the screen or wherever you are, and you'll feel like you're having sort of a more comfortable conversation. Also, how to answer a question you don't know. It is very okay to just say, actually, can I take a couple of moments to think about that? Or if you aren't sure, you would say, I'm actually not sure, but I would do this, or, and so again, that's that reflective practice that helps us gauge sort of how you would deal with a situation, because we're all human, we all have strengths and weaknesses. You pretty much can't be a human and not have strengths and weaknesses. So it's just a great way to be honest, open, and reflective of either your strengths, but also your weaknesses. So about the actual interviewer, so the person that's interviewing you, you really want to leave an impression. I think a couple of people have also mentioned that before. Don't get a tattoo before you go. That's just certainly but have some questions to ask your interviewer. Most people come into interviews with me with questions like, what's your professional development program or your new grad program? But I have already generally answered all of that in the interview. I go through our new grad program with them. I talk about it, and then I often get to the end and ask them if they've got any questions, and they say, oh no, you answered all of them. And that is great. But if you have some other questions that you can ask that are actually more like helps to engage in a conversation with them. I definitely can remember new grads from 3 years ago that have asked me some really specific questions, and actually these questions have come from questions that new grads or undergrads rather have asked me. So a couple of quick tips for your questions. What is the culture of your organization is a really good one. What is your experience, either in your current role, like you ask the interviewer that, what's your experience in the organization? And another really great one is, what is your organization's career development pathways, if they haven't mentioned it? Just, I guess, again, helps you to engage more, makes you more memorable. So some tips there. Also be prepared to let them know a little bit about you as a person. We really, as a recruiter, we really like to, have a picture of you in our minds before you start. Like, do you like crochet and knitting? Do you like park runs? Do you like cooking? And it helps us to connect you to community or to different groups, and it helps, to build a picture of how we might put in different supports for you, if you are able and willing to let them know a little bit about you as a person. Sometimes it does feel overwhelming going into an interview. The thing to remember is that the person that is interviewing you is literally just a person. So I'm interviewing you. I am a mum. I have fun with my kids. I get, also I've been the interviewee as well. If someone's got a job and they're the interviewer, it's very likely that they've been an interviewee before and they've felt that kind of pressure to perform in the interview. So just remember that they're also a human as well. I have a little video just about working rurally and what that looks like. Now, just give me 2 seconds while I switch screens. Elliot, can you see that video?
I can. Yep. Just want to press play, go big screen, and it should be all good.
Amazing. Just coming up.
Could probably just mute the audio there, Jen. It's just cutting in and out. Got the subtitles there anyway.
So that is just a little bit of information about what it's like to work, I guess rurally, but also for Vital Health. I'll just switch back my screen. Have I gone back to my PowerPoint, Elliot?
Yep, that's all good.
Perfect. So we're really passionate. So Vital Health is really passionate about connecting rural services, rural allied health services to rural and remote communities. We're around Queensland and New South Wales in Inverell and Glen Innes area. Rural health is really exciting to be part of. You definitely, I was from the city and I moved to Roma, which is a very small country town. I can't be more grateful with my experience in the community. I really, love the fact that you're not just a number. It's not sort of a rat race and people running around, that you go to the supermarket and people know who you are and they care about what you've been doing and where you're up to. I think, there is a really big gap in that access and, between metropolitan and rural health services. So it's a really awesome space to be in and be involved in, and you definitely make a huge impact in people's lives. So, for example, we had a client who, a teenager who really wanted to just order a coffee from a cafe, and our speech pathologist helped with some AAC device, and we, watched her go from, not being able to do those sort of social things to ordering coffees at a cafe. And it was a really, tangible and amazing outcome that we see all the time in our clients rurally. So you really feel like you're part of something bigger. It's also really amazing to work in a rural location because you work in a lot of different environments. So, some of our clinicians work at GP clinics, Aboriginal health clinics, kindergartens, schools, aged care facilities, various local facilities, and also you have a really diverse caseload. So, being rurally, you definitely don't specialize in one area. You're a very generalist therapist. So you've got pediatrics, aged care, workplace, private practice, rehab, neuro, ortho, home mods for OTs, equipment, AACs, like AAC devices. There's just, it's a huge and diverse kind of caseload, which is great. With Vital Health, we have a large allied health team, so physio, OT, speech, diet, exercise physiology, massage, allied health assistants, mental health OT, psychology, and we've just employed a nurse, which is exciting, and she's starting next week with us, so that's really cool. We're a very supportive team. We've got a very comprehensive new grad, so I was a new grad back in 2010. The program back then was good. It's even better now. And we really individualize our, our packages for people and offer that really flexible work-life balance. So our new grad program, I probably, won't go into it too much, but certainly we've got a lot of, support with orientation, training, professional development allowances for external courses. We have weekly support with your clinician, weekly support with admin, lots of multidisciplinary team, meetings and education and training, in-house professional development, Indigenous cultural awareness. I mean, the list goes on, relocation support, really try and connect you to the community that you're working in. And the same, you can change to a different location within our organisation if you would like to at the end of your contract or throughout your time with Vital Health. Just quickly, I know that I'm probably running a little bit out of time, so I will flick through these quite quickly. But basically, for your work-life balance expectations as a new grad, make sure you use the work time that's allocated to you. So, write your notes in the time that you're allocated to write your notes. These are some more practical hints, I suppose. If you've got report writing time, do it in that time so that you don't get sort of distracted with other things. Make sure that you talk to your employers. They really want to keep you. I can definitely guarantee that. So make sure you talk to them if there is something that's bothering you. I'm pretty sure they'll be able to help with the mutual solution. We use flexi time and rosters to support work-life balance. So you can definitely do a 9-day fortnight. You can do, fly in and out. We do lots of different roster options. These are a couple of pictures from working, throughout our organisation. We have lots of fun. We do lots of community events. We participate in lots of different, we partner with lots of different organisations as well. Make sure you utilise the professional development that's offered by your new employer. So come prepared to your PD sessions with lots of questions. Know that you're not expected to be an expert, but you are actually expected to be a sponge. And as I said before, we've got lots of internal and external professional development. It's very tailored to each person, depending on what their needs and wants are. This is what we're recruiting for at the moment. And so definitely apply now. We're very supportive, very flexible. And then just a couple of takeaway points. The interviewer is just a person. Make sure you leave an impression by asking some thoughtful questions, and rural work is very rewarding and makes a huge impact on clients and community. Sorry, I think I might have just gone over time. Might be just scraped in.
All good. Thank you very much. No, that was really good, Jen. It was good. It was a different approach, providing a lot of advice to the students as well, which I thought was great. That was really good.
In there.
I'll leave the floor open for a couple of minutes for any of the students who are still on who wanted to ask any questions to Jen specifically around vital health or around the allied health kind of industry. Obviously, she's here for a couple of minutes if you want to ask any questions. If not, I've just shared a quick link to the Vital Health jobs board, so you can express your interest with a job that we've got live at the moment, or you can reach out to Jen directly if you want as well.
Amazing.
We've got one come through. So I've got a question that's come through. So we've got an occupational therapy graduate, and she was wondering, or he or she, sorry, was wondering, what are some of the questions that you'd ask, I guess, during the interview process? How would you best prefer? Is it scenario questions? Is it behavioural questions? Or what's the best approach, do you feel?
Yeah.
It's a great question, whoever's just asked that.
So questions that I ask, just to clarify.
Oh, questions that you would suggest for students to ask when they're interviewing.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely. I mean, those questions that I said before are really they're questions that undergrads have asked me that have obviously made an impression on me. So, you know, asking about the culture of the organization is a really good one, because it lets you see, you know, what the organization does internally for fun as well, and how they connect as a team. I think career pathways, anything that you're really interested in, like if you have a particular interest in, say, home modifications, like what is your training program on home modifications, or how would I access professional development in this area, those sort of things. Like, I think if you think about what you want or need in your job and ask questions that are related to that. And just in case Elliot, she was meaning, or he was meaning, what questions do I ask in an interview? And I certainly ask a lot of reflective questions. So what's your most memorable client? Or what's a challenging, can you tell me about a challenging client that you've had? You know, I talk about, we do have a lot of Aboriginal health work in our organisation. So I do ask about your experiences with Aboriginal health, like health or clients. Again, it doesn't matter if you have or haven't had any of that experience. It just gives us an idea of what we need to teach or train people in. Yeah, and then some clinical based questions as well. But again, there's no right or wrong answers to them. It just lets us know how you think about processes and what you do with the question, as opposed to having a right or wrong answer. They're quite open-ended.
Yeah, I think it's important as well, like just the fact that you're researching and asking relevant questions, it carries a lot of weight. I know when I was recruiting, you interview a lot of people for generally one or two roles, or might be more. So you remember the people who, as Jen said at the start, you remember the people who ask very tailored questions because they've done their research. So have a look at the website, see what they're actually doing, ask specific questions about how they're doing certain things. It'll be really beneficial to, and you'll be able to, you'll just be more rememberable, other than asking the same generic questions that most graduates will ask. But it's always good to try and set yourself apart a little bit in that interview process as well. Yeah,
perfect. Definitely set yourself apart. That's, you know, even if it is a follow-up phone call the next day, just to, you know, ask, did you get my CV okay? Or have you got the references? Or, you know, anything like that is also a really, because then the recruiter, again, remembers you, or you are acknowledging your interest. Anyway, handy hints.
No, really good. Thank you very much, Jen, and thanks all for the students who've, some of them have been in this booth since the get-go, since the panel. So thanks so much for staying on for the whole time and asking questions and listening to the presentations. And if you've got any other questions, you can reach out to me directly. I'll just quickly put my email in this call here. And if I can, I'll refer you to the right person to speak to. But the best case, if you're interested in a particular employer, just reach out to their recruitment team and they can help you from there. And thanks so much for coming on, Jen. I know it's a little bit late and you've got to get to dinner. So thanks so much for coming on and taking the time to present to the students on the call today.
Yes, no worries. My absolute pleasure.
Brilliant.
It was lots of fun. Thank you.
Great to hear. Thanks, Jen. And thanks everyone for coming on.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.